Hello there! Welcome to my show, COVID-19 Update by Heerak for July 17, 2020, TGIF. Yes, I march for life. I march for life. Um, TGIF, thank God it's Friday. Some of you took my advice and went down to the beach today and had a lot of fun. Tomorrow is Saturday, so it's a beach day. It's a nice day outside. Yeah. I have my BLS recertification class tomorrow. BLS is basic life support. I am in the master's program in clinical nurse leader at Georgetown University. And every 2 years, I have to renew my BLS card. It's like good for 2 years. Basic life support. So it's kind of like, um, if somebody's unconscious, you do compressions and you know, you you give them ventilation, which is like, so you help them breathe and you help their heart to start or not stop. You know, uh, and so that's basic life support for healthcare workers. So everybody who's a nurse has to do this every 2 years. Um, and obviously, these measures save your life. So let's say you drowned in the beach. Your lifeguard would go and give you BLS, basic life support, and then you won't die. You see, so it's an important thing. During COVID-19, it's not a bad idea for like you to learn it and get licensed in it. Every father maybe should learn it just because it's like COVID-19. So you just go to American Heart Association, you take the online class, and then you take the skills portion of it. Uh, and American Heart Association website has all the instructions. So you fathers and mothers out there, you may want to get this. Just because what happened. What if your child goes into cardiac arrest due to COVID-19? School starting up in Arlington County, Alexandria Falls, and Fairfax County, your child gets COVID and then your child stops breathing or heart stops. By the time the 911 is called and ambulance arrives, your child may be dead. And we call that in the hospital setting dead on arrival, DOA, dead on arrival, meaning the patient arrives dead. Yeah, because the patient's heart stopped or the patient stopped breathing. So in the era of COVID-19, it's not a bad idea for all the moms and dads to get the BLS license, learn how to resuscitate your child if your child gets COVID and stops breathing. Because you gotta keep your child alive until the child goes to the hospital. If you don't know how to do BLS, basic life support, then your child will be dead. Dead on arrival, DOA. Yeah. Apparently, a lot of people die on the way to the hospital because, their parents were giving them BLS and they didn't know how to do it. So, I think if you're in Virginia's 8th District, Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County, you should definitely get BLS because if school starts up again and your child gets infected, your child can experience like breathing problems or heart problems, and it could go into arrest, meaning it stops, heart stops, or breathing stops, so that's something that COVID-19 can do. And so I would encourage you to take this class because right now, we only have about 1,000 cases. That's a lot, but once school opens up, we may have 10,000 cases per day. And during flu season, we may have 20, 30,000 cases per day just in Virginia alone. People were dropping dead left and right, especially the children who went to school. So, yeah, so I would encourage you to take that class. Um, but numbers are going up. Virginia has 1,000. A lot of the states are shutting down again, which means you may not have the whole summer where you go to the beach and spend fun time. So yeah, you gotta use all the time that there is because you know in the wintertime there's gonna be nothing fun. There's gonna be no escape room. There is gonna be no movie theater that's open. They're not even open now. I mean, they're not gonna be open in the winter. There's going to be no bars open. There's going to be no restaurants open. You can't even eat outside because it's freezing cold. It's like sub-freezing weather outside. How are you going to eat outside? You can't eat inside because COVID will be killing a lot of people. So think of this winter or this fall, like starting September, as year of monastic life. Yes. Yeah, I don't want to use the word monasticism, in a negative way because I respect the monastics. But basically, you cannot do anything fun this winter. No movie theater, no basketball games, no hockey games, um, no restaurants, no bars, no escape room, no hanging out in Starbucks. Yeah, this winter is going to be the most boring winter in the history of America. Everybody will be just bored to death. Um, so enjoy the summer when you have it because from probably September to March, misery will be there for like 6 months. You'll be like a monk or a nun. Like there's no fun. You have to be. You may have to vow of like semi-silence because you cannot even hang out with your friends. I mean, you can hang out on Zoom or phone, but you can't physically see them. They'll probably, issue a stay-at-home order in Maryland, and DC, all over America. That's probably going to be in effect from September to like April, like 6, 7 months. Yeah, so you should be prepared for that because once you have like a lot of people dying, like 5,000 people dying per day, you know that's going to happen. Right now we have 1,000 Americans dying per day, but I'm predicting Heerak Christian Independent candidate for U.S. Congress. That's who I am. I'm predicting that as high as 10,000 people will die per day in the summer. And I'm predicting by end of August, 1 million Americans will die from COVID. I think we're headed there because we already have 1,000 people dying. And, people are getting sicker and sicker. The numbers in each state is going up. Eventually, you're going to have like 1,000 dying in Texas per day, 1,000 dying per day in Florida, 1,000 dying per day in California. I think those are, you can count on it. Um, and then you will have like Arizona and Georgia. You may have close to 1,000 dying because they have like 4,000 cases per day now. So they are where Florida, Texas, and Arizona was like a couple weeks ago. So they're headed there. And North Carolina and South Carolina have like 2,000 cases per day. So they're eventually going to go to like in Georgia and Arizona, and then eventually being like Florida, Texas, and California. So you see why I am predicting 1 million people will die. It's a long time off. We're like 6, 7 weeks until end of August. A lot of people are going to die before then. I don't think I'm wrong to say this, especially because as schools start up, a lot of people are going to get infected and die. Uh, so enjoy the summer when you can because it's hard to get COVID outside because you're not inside. The whole sky is your ceiling and that's like infinite. So it's hard to get COVID unless you're like close to somebody and talking to them. So enjoy like the beach, swimming and fun in the beach. Just make sure you're like far away from everybody so you don't get COVID, right? So you can enjoy beach next weekend as well. I mean, I would say you really need to stock up on fun because starting September, it's going to be boring, boring, boring. And once the temperature drops, you can't even eat outside, of a restaurant. I mean, you can pick up food from the restaurant, but you have to eat it at home because everything will be closed. So you're looking at about 6 months of hibernation, which will be totally boring for you. Um, the cases are growing and it's not going to stop. So yeah, so I would say enjoy what you can now in the summer. You have exactly like 6 weeks to have fun. Enough fun that has to last you for like 7 months of, of isolation, monastic life. No movie theater will be open. No restaurant will be open. No Starbucks will be open. No, nothing will be open. Nothing. You can't even play golf in the winter. Everything will be closed. Um, yeah, you're looking at about 6 months of hell. And not only will everything be closed, people will be dropping dead left and right because you have to be inside, and inside it's easy to get infected. So yeah, don't miss out on the fun. You will regret it. Because especially if you get COVID and die in December, this was the only time you could have fun, and you just like can have fun. I mean, how what is that? I mean, geez. I mean, oh man. Yeah, make sure if your father take your kids out to have fun. You could get to the beach, get to the beach. Make sure everybody stays away from other people, but your family can be together, obviously. Yeah, protect yourself, but you can have fun protecting yourself. Because outside, it's hard to get infected. Inside, you get infected. Yeah, so go to the beach tomorrow, go to the mountains. There are a lot of hiking trails you can go to tomorrow as a family. If you can't get away, there are places in Fairfax County parks, Arlington trails and parks. Do something fun with your kids. Don't because in the wintertime you can't do that. Because it's too cold outside. So squeeze everything in as much as you can right now, because you may die this winter. You need your children to remember you by. And as I suggested, try to make a yearbook with your children. Like a lot of the fun things that you do. You could say 2020 summer book. And you can write a little, words to your children they can remember you by. If you die from COVID this Christmas, I mean, you gotta prepare your life as if you're gonna die. You may not die, but you could. So you need to give your children something tangible that they could hold on to if you die and your wife dies and the children are left orphans. They have to like be raised by their, aunt in like North Dakota or somewhere where COVID isn't as bad. Um, yeah. So make sure you designate um, designate guardians for your children. Start calling your relatives, like in North Dakota or South Dakota, where COVID isn't that strong, and say, if we die from COVID, can you take our kids and raise them? So or you may have a best friend from high school, best friend from college. You need to have serious conversations with your relatives and your friends because you can die. Heerak Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress. That's who I am. I'm predicting that 1 million will die per month. And it could be reciprocal, right? I mean, you could tell your friends if they die, like both mom and dad die, then you will take their children and raise them. So you can have a reciprocal agreement, but you do need to make this agreement and you do need to write this into your will. Because if you and your wife die, um, your children can be orphaned, and your children can be put into the system. Like foster home after foster home. And from what I understand, it's miserable. A lot goes wrong in the foster system, unfortunately, and that's something that I like to work on. If you vote for me for U.S. Congress of Virginia State District, I like to go to Congress and work on the foster care system. Um, because I teach in a 100% African American school, and I've done that in different counties, and like in Virginia and DC. And I noticed there are African American students, who are raised by their grandparents or with COVID killing a lot of elderly, they're going to be orphaned. Um, or some are in the foster care system, and so I want to kind of help African American children and Hispanic children and poor white children, who just had a bad cards that were dealt in their life. The parents died of a car accident. Things happen. With COVID-19, you should think that it is possible for both you and your wife to die. If you're a father, you need to prepare because it's unfair for your children if you and your wife die. in the winter, like in Arlington, because this is an epicenter. A lot of people in Arlington are going to die. So in Virginia, the most death will be in Arlington, Alexandria, Falls Church, and Fairfax County. We're going to have the most death. So if 100,000 people die by Christmas in Virginia, probably over 60,000 will be in Virginia's 8th district, Virginia 10th district, Virginia 11th district. Um, I don't think you should be surprised if 100,000 people die in Virginia by Christmas. It's just the flu season. That's when a lot of people can die during the pandemic. Uh, and so I think the number will be much higher than 100,000 dying in Virginia, but you should not be surprised at all. So you should write out your will if you're in Arlington County. Everybody, every one of you in Arlington County should write out a will if you haven't written one out. But you need to include in there uh, guardians for your children if you and your wife both die. You don't think this is going to happen? I mean, geez, Arlington County is a county with most graduate degrees. You should be educated enough to know from the vantage point of science, you can be killed by COVID in the winter, that there's a higher probability that you will be killed by COVID than the probability that you'll survive. I mean, if you're a mathematician, you can calculate this. There's a higher probability that Arlington people will die than not die. Um, this is a pandemic. It's aggressive, and your children are going to go to school in Arlington County. So, you know, there's probably 1 in 10 or 1 in 50 chance you're going to die. Yeah, you need to write out a will, and you need to write out where the money goes. If your children are minors, there has to be a trust set up in case you die, because they can't have access to that money until they're 18, generally right under the trust system. You need to look into that because you should prepare for your death. Um, and then you need to figure out how much money is going to whom. And then also you have to figure out in case your other children die from COVID, how you're going to allocate the money. Let's say you have 3 children, you and your wife die. After you die, among your 3 children, you have one child die, then that child's trust fund has to be reallocated along the 2 children. And also, if you make an agreement with your best friend to have them raise your children, it's only fair that you request some money for them, so that they won't be spending all their money raising your children, right? That wouldn't be fair. You need to calculate that as well. Like how much money are you going to be giving to your best friend is raising your children? I would recommend you put it into a trust and don't do a one lump sum, because money can corrupt people. What if your best friend takes the $1 million from your retirement fund and then put your children in the foster care system? So what I would do is, arrange with a lawyer to pay out the sum of money that you want to give to your friend who's raising your children on a monthly basis. Somehow figure out a way to send money monthly, contingent on that on their continuing to raise your children until they're 18. So you need to plan for all of this. It will take you at least a week or 2 weeks to plan for your death and your wife's death, and to arrange for financial trust. You need to figure out a system to set up for your children in Arlington County, because you can die, and you should not be surprised if you and your wife die. Because this is a pandemic, and so you need to do that. Don't be lazy, because if you don't have anything made up and you die, your children will be put in the foster system. They could be screwed up for life just because you were lazy. Don't do that. So here at Christian Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress and Virginia's 8th District. I'm a national leader. You need my leadership. I'm giving you leadership. I'm giving you leadership on what you need to do so that your children do not suffer. Do not add to your children's suffering, but not preparing. You need to spend about 2 weeks with financial advisors and lawyers to set everything up. And World Health Organization says COVID-19 is forever. So you need to put this will into system, because even if you don't die before Christmas, you die in January, February. If you don't die in January, February, you could die next summer or next winter. So you're going to die at some point. High probability you will die. In urban areas like Arlington, you have a very high probability you're going to die. So if 100 million Americans die in America, people who won't die are people who are living in rural areas, like farm areas and, like spread out areas where it's hard to get COVID. Those are the ones who will survive. They'll probably have to restructure our country after, anywhere from 30 million to 100 million people die in the next 10 years. If COVID-19 is forever, like the World Health Organization says, and if we do not develop a vaccine, the way there's no vaccine for hepatitis C virus or HIV virus, you should expect about 30 million to 100 million to die in the next 10 years. I think that would be a normal thing. And viruses are mutating. And this is not a seasonal virus. It's like a 365 days a year virus. So, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. So you need to prepare for your death. I mean, hopefully you don't die. And I credit the show COVID-19 Death by Heerak to try to save you and your children's lives. But if you think that you're not going to die, you're fooling yourself. You could die. Obviously, I don't want you to die. That's why I have this show. That's why you got to watch this show religiously every day. Because I give you advice like this that you need. Nobody's telling you how to prepare for winter, are they? Is CNN telling you how to prepare for winter? Is Don Beyer, my opponent, who's a current U.S. congressman, teaching you how to prepare for winter? No, no one cares about you. No one cares about your family except Heerak Kim, independent candidate for U.S. Congress. I'm trying to save your family. I'm going to give you leadership because I am a leader. I am your leader. Whether you vote for me or not, I'm your leader. I'm definitely a leader in Virginia's 8th District. I'm a national leader because people in all 50 states watch this show to get advice on how to survive COVID. So, yeah, so you need to consider what I'm saying. Obviously, you're not a slave. You don't have to wear a mask if you don't want. You don't have to listen to me if you don't want. You do what you want. I'm just giving a recommendation. You listen, and you can do what you want. But your life is free. You're not a slave. Um, yeah. So today is Happy World Emoji Day. So I want to say Happy Emoji Day. I love emojis, smiley face. Did I tell you one of the interviewers for my nursing job in August? I'm interviewing with different hospitals. One of the interviewers put a little emoji there. So I emojied her back, I mean, yeah, she kind of looks cute. I checked her out on LinkedIn. And she's kind of cute. She's like 23 or something, really young. I mean, some people like they, I guess they do a lot of stuff when they're young, but she's like 22, 23. So if I get hired in that hospital, I don't know. I'm gonna ask her, let's see. I mean, I'm not married yet. Yeah, for those of you who don't know, I'm not married. I've never been married. I've never been children. So I'm trying to find a good Christian woman to marry. So as I said, um, yeah, if you are a good Christian and you have a body like Taylor Swift, and if you can sing like Taylor Swift, that's like, a plus. I thought I was going to marry Taylor Swift, but it didn't work out. When she was 22, I was thinking, man, it'd be so nice if Taylor Swift that I get married, but I don't know. I guess Taylor Swift missed the bus on that one. I think we would have been very happy together. Because I'm very artistic, I'm very creative, I'm a poet. And I could see like Taylor Swift and I, doing a lot of things together. She would make great music. Uh, and we would be like a power artistic couple because I'm a poet, she's a singer, it's a perfect combination. But, oh well, I guess it wasn't meant to be, what can you say? But yeah, so I would say like Taylor Swift, the way she's beautiful, um, blue eyes and blonde. That's like, I think Taylor Swift comes closest to what I want, in my wife. For those of you who are considering applying to be my wife, yeah. Yeah, please submit a resume, your photos, several photos, and apply to be my wife. My website, you could You could email me through my campaign website. So yeah, I reckon, I mean, how else are you gonna get married, especially with COVID-19? You know. So yeah, yeah. I mean, you gotta go after what you want, right? You can't. Hey, what are you gonna do? Like become the old maid? Do you remember the movie? Well, let me go to the next page so we have a different scenery. Do you remember the movie "It's a Wonderful Life"? And there's George and Mary. You should watch that movie if you haven't seen it. It's like a quintessential American movie. You cannot call yourself an American if you have not seen It's a Wonderful Life. It's an old movie, but it's part of American culture. So you can't really call yourself an American if you haven't seen that movie. So, but watch that movie. And the point that I'm driving at is Mary is whom George marries, and they have a wonderful family together. But, they show us a scenario where, George did not exist. Uh, and Mary doesn't get married. She becomes a spinster. Like she's single until she dies, or at least in the scenario. And I know that happens to a lot of women. I know women that I have been friends with. I set a really high bar, and it's good or bad. So among the friends that I have, I'm sure this is going to happen with my CNL clinical nurse leader friends, because there's three guys, Billy, Brent, and me. There are 22 women. Because I'm such a alpha male, women who come to know me, and all the CNL women, they're beautiful, they're smart, they come to know me, so they come to appreciate me at a deeper level than just superficially. Because all women that I know do that, so I'm not surprised. But um, I have altered their life forever because it's like that with every single woman that I know, that I meet. I change their life forever because they come to see an alpha male who is a Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century, and they didn't think that a guy like me could exist. So the female friends that I meet, and this was the case when I was in Israel, I made a lot of Israeli Jewish female friends and Muslim Palestinian friends. It was this way when I was in Germany. It was this way when I was in England. When I make friends with women, they come to understand that a male person like me exists that they didn't think was possible. So what ends up happening is two reactions. One reaction is that women want to fall in love with men and want to get married. So among my female friends, you have rush of women trying to get married because they see that men can be beautiful, not beautiful like physically, but So the female friends that I have, some of them rush to get married because they know me and they feel like they could have hope in men. Like they feel like men can be beautiful, like in the inner sense of the term. So I have a lot of female friends who start rushing to marry men if they can marry me. Most of my female friends want to marry me. That's been my experience. You know, everywhere I go with all ethnicities, all religious backgrounds, all races, it's been that way. Um, so, and then the other group exists, and that's where I'm a little bit worried. Other group of women is they see me, they see what's possible, they set the standard really high, and I mean, how many guys are going to come close to who I am? I'm the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. A person like me comes around every 500 years. You're not going to find any guy like me. So you have women searching and searching to find a guy like me, and they end up being spinsters because they don't find him. So I've seen two reactions among my female friends. So I have female friends who are still not married because they're still searching um, for that alpha male, and that's why I have to say I am Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century. There's only one of me in 500 years. Don't try to look for somebody like me; you will not find it. Yeah, so it's a responsibility. I hope I'm bearing it well, but yeah. and don't take advantage of people. Because obviously I have respect for women and people, so I try my best to respect them, their dignity, and not take advantage of anybody. That's a very important thing for me. It stems from Christian value system. But anyway, but I know like guys who wouldn't think twice, to have sex with their female friend and just for the sake of temporary pleasure with no intentions, and then just like walk away. Most guys are like that. I would say 90% of the guys are like that. Some are nice about it, some are mean about it, some will lie about it, some will be truthful about it. 90% of guys are like that. That's why, throughout history, people have called men dogs. They sniff and you know, yeah, just, they sniff everything, every female dog's tail. Yeah, so, yeah, it's just the way men are biologically, what can you do? So, that's why you have to put your husband in a leash. Because your husband is a dog. I guarantee you. I don't care if he's an elder. I don't care if he's a pastor in the church. He's a dog. You need to put a leash on him. Um, yeah. Anyway, see, I give you all these practical advice. It's going to bring you happiness. Because if you trust your husband and not put a leash, he's going to stray and start sniffing some other, female. Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen. It doesn't matter if he's an elder, deacon, or a pastor. You got to put a leash on that now. Yeah, the world is filled with sin. Until Jesus comes back, there is sin, and everybody's a sinner, including pastors, elders, deacons. So put that leash on your husband. Yeah, if you don't want to regret it. Don't trust your husband. The only person you can trust is Jesus. You can't trust your husband. You can only trust Jesus. He's the only one who's trustworthy. Um, yeah. And yeah, you see, I try to bring you happiness by giving you truth. Not only about the Bible, but about the reality, about relationships, because no one's telling you the truth. Everybody's lying to you. I don't believe in the liberal media, like fake news. I just do not believe in the liberal media. Um, yeah. So, yeah. Let's go to the numbers there. 836 people dies, 1,000, around 1,000 dying per day. So our total death figure is at 139,175. Cases are going up, you see, at 70,000 plus per day. So the total case is at 3,641,355. You're going to have anywhere from 3 to 12% down. So you should expect that of all cases, unfortunately. And it's like the Fauci said, we're going to hit 100,000. I agree with him. We're headed there. And you should not doubt we're going to hit 100,000. We will. Yeah. Uh, Now, misery one's company. There are people dying in large numbers in Latin America, and I blame Latinos in America. I mean, I don't want to be mean or anything, but as I said, COVID-19 is judgment of God for embracing homosexuality. From a spiritual angle, I mean, we could talk about this from a scientific angle. We could talk about COVID-19 from an epistemological angle. We could talk about COVID-19 from a public health angle. We could talk about COVID-19 from a historical angle. We could talk about COVID-19 from a nursing angle. We could talk about COVID-19 from pandemic angle. I'm definitely going to do that, and I have been doing that on different episodes. But we could also talk about COVID-19 as a spiritual reality, right? Because God created the world. Everything in the world that is created by God. Therefore, COVID-19 is created by God. If A equals B, B equals C, A equals C, right? So you know that mathematical principle because Arlington County is the most educated county, one of the most educated counties in America. So I know you understand what I'm saying. Um, yeah, but educated people can do stupid things, and history is filled with examples of that. Because a lot of educated people don't have common sense. So they make a lot of common sense errors or life errors in their own life because their knowledge is theoretical, not practical. So that's one thing that I worry about with Arlington County residents because they're highly educated, which means they have very little practical wisdom. They have a lot of knowledge, but little wisdom. So I want to impart some wisdom in this show to help you, all you master's degree, doctoral degree people out there, because I am the Leonardo da Vinci of 21st century, which means I have wisdom and knowledge. So I'm going to steer you in the right direction. Obviously, you listen to me, you're a rational being, and you decide on your own based on your logic and reason, right? Nobody's going to make you into a slave. I do not believe that I should require you to wear a mask by law. You're a rational being. You have the freedom to choose to wear a mask or not. As I said, obviously, state agencies have the right to require you to wear a mask when you enter state-owned buildings like public schools or, you know, courthouses, mayors, or county board building. You know, they can require you to wear a mask in government buildings. That's in their right. But I don't believe that governments have right to force you to wear a mask when you're outside, you're just walking around in public. I don't think that that's right because they're making you into a slave if they're required to wear a mask when you're just walking around outside. And none of you should be a slave. Um, so I oppose that. Obviously, I wear a mask whenever I go outside and whenever I'm near people because mask protects you from COVID, and I believe that because I know science, and I encourage you to wear a mask when you're around people. But the fact is, the mask does not protect you 100%. Like cloth mask that you make, that's only protecting you 40%. There's like 60% chance you're going to get COVID, even if you wear the cloth mask. So don't go near people just because you have a mask. Don't have a false sense of security. You'll get it wearing a mask. Um, Dr. Fauci said there's a high likelihood that COVID-19 can be airborne, maybe different strands of it, which means if you wear a mask and it'll go into to your nose and your mouth through different cracks in your mask, openings in your mask, that you may not even see. Um, yeah, like when like lift it up once, go in and infect you, yeah, just be careful, where, outside obviously is safer, but inside is not so safe. Yeah, as I said, spiritually speaking, we have Romans chapter 1, and I encourage all of you to read Romans chapter 1 because I'm arguing that Romans chapter 1 is being utilized by God in this pandemic. So the way you understand God, who is operating in the COVID-19 era, is through Romans 1. Obviously, you should read the whole Bible, but it's hard to read the whole Bible, right? But you can read one chapter. So I'm just saying, read Romans chapter 1 and understand COVID-19 in spiritual terms as the wrath of God that is promised in Romans chapter 1. Right? God is killing Americans because he's angry at Americans for supporting LGBTQ plus rights. And this is spelled out in Romans chapter 1, literally. Yeah. Obviously, you have to contextualize it to American setting, but the principle is there. So I would encourage all of you to read Romans chapter 1 because, you know, spiritual reasons are important. And I believe God exists and God is acting in history and upon history. And you may be an agnostic or an atheist, or maybe a Christian who doubt that God can do this. I say read the Bible and really understand, get to know God in his own terms, because God gave us the Bible. So God revealed himself to us through the Bible. Stop trying to assume who God is because you're looking at God through the prejudices that you have through your education or your background or your experience. You should look at other people through your own experiences, or you need to understand other people as autonomous beings in their own right. And so respecting other people means learning about their culture, their background, their history, and letting them dictate who they are to you, not you assuming who they are. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's against multiculturalism. As you know, I'm a National Council of Teachers of English, NCTE, Standing Committee on Global Citizenship. I'm a member. I have 3-year membership, board membership. So I'm a board member. I write blogs for National Council of Teachers of English. That includes all English teachers from pre-K to universities. So professors of English at Georgetown are part of that. Some are active members and some don't. So I care that you respect other cultures. And it starts with you trying to understand them in their own right, not assuming that you know everything about their culture, but letting their culture speak to you by having an open mind to learn about their culture. And you need to approach God in this manner too. For you to assume that God is love, God loves everybody, that's your prejudice. I would call that, according to Chihari Square, that's your blind spot, or that's your implicit bias. You're trying to dictate who God is based on your own bias. You're looking at God through your bias. So you are putting on the spectacle or glasses of your own bias to look at God. To borrow the term from historians. And you need to take your glasses off and see God as an autonomous being who has his own traits, characteristics, desires, and wishes. Just like 100 different nationalities that are represented in Arlington, they have their own cultural value system that disagree with your value system, and you cannot impose your views on them because that's fundamental part of their culture. And I see that a lot of liberal, progressive, and Arlington are trying to impose Western, secular, liberal ideologies on traditional societies because most of the world is traditional society. America is an exception to the rule, not the rule. There are only less than 20 countries that operate along American value system. You know, hundreds of countries do not. And so it's a little bit of a cultural imperialism or cultural colonialism to assume that your secular liberal perspective is right. It's not. I would say it's not. You may think it's right, but you see, there's a disagreement here. So you need to understand perspective of people who come from traditional societies and self-examine your cultural biases, right? Because my contention is that liberal progressives are the greatest racists in America because they assume that their liberalism is the correct way to structure society. So they fight racism, according to the models of Western liberal dictates, and some traditional societies, they embrace racism, and obviously you as a liberal progressive would say, well, that's wrong. But I'm pointing to that and saying that itself proves that you are intolerant of traditional societies which embrace racism. You see what I'm saying? The fact that you're saying Western civilization, liberal Western civilization should be the standard itself is making you intolerant person who wants to practice cultural colonialism. My argument is traditional societies have the right to embrace racism if that's part of their culture, and you should not force them to abandon their culture. And because their culture will continue to exist in their home country, whether it's Korea, China, Japan, Philippines, Indonesia, Pakistan, India. Just because they're immigrants in America doesn't mean their culture back home or in the old country will stop existing. So by separating immigrants here, forcing them to assimilate uh, is a type of colonialism. which is going to separate them from their traditional societies that they are tied to. You see, so I condemn any fighting of racism according to Western progressive liberalism, and I see Republicans doing this. I see Democrats doing this. All of you are intolerant of traditional societies. All of you are by definition racist because you do not respect different races that embrace racism or their own nationalism or their own ethnocentrism. So you're being racist against cultures that embrace racism. And there is no contradiction in terms here. You could be racist against racists. It's like black nationalists are racist, and they're racist against KKK. Who's racist? You see what I'm saying? Um, so I'm saying all Republicans who fight racism and try to force everybody to conform to them, you're racist. And I've tweeted many times to Republicans, stop fighting racism because you're being racist against people who have their own value system. And I've tweeted this to Democrat senators, I've tweeted this to Republican senators. You gotta stop fighting racism. You gotta stop trying to force everybody to conform to your value system. That is what intolerance is. You're culturally insensitive. You're culturally ignorant. You think that your culture is the best culture and you're trying to force that upon everybody. That's absolutely wrong. You gotta stop. Senators in both parties must stop. Stop fighting racism. Because you're trying to be colonialist about it. Yeah, I mean, you can bring about justice in the society without fighting racism. The fact that you choose to fight racism shows that you're racist because you want to use a cultural vantage point that a lot of people don't agree with. So you gotta stop. I mean, you could make a society a just society without fighting racism, but that's better because different people have different understanding of what racism is anyway. Nobody agrees on that. It's better to work at justice, just legal system, just law enforcement, stop talking about racism. That's not helpful. Yeah, so going back to Latinos in America, Bible says homosexuality is the greatest evil. It's worse than first degree murder. And God punishes for homosexuality and gay marriage because God considers that more evil than you going out and then killing 5 people. Now, if Latinos in America, whether they're Christians or not, embrace gay rights, obviously God's going to get angry because Romans chapter 1 clearly shows God rejects homosexuals and God sends wrath. So the fact that so many Latinos are dying in America, because, I don't know if you read studies, a lot of Latinos are dying in America from COVID, disproportionately, shows that God is punishing Latinos in America for supporting LGBTQ rights and changing laws to accommodate sexual orientation, LGBTQ rights. So God is killing Latinos in every city as a punishment for Latino support of gay marriage, LGBTQ rights. Why do you have to stand against the Bible when God is a supreme being? So you should not be surprised that God punishes Latinos in America for trying to support LGBTQ plus, because God is giving you Romans chapter 2, right? To help you understand who he is and what he's going to do if you support LGBTQ. So God's killing a lot of Latinos in America. All the experts say that Latinos are dying in large numbers. And spiritually speaking, it's because Latinos support gay marriage. Vote for Democrats who support gay marriage. That's why you're dying in large numbers. Spiritually speaking. Obviously, we could talk about this from an epidemiological angle. We could talk about this from health inequities perspective, social determinants of health. We could do that. But We can also talk about it from a spiritual angle. Those who obey God's law will be blessed by God. Those who do not obey God's law and reject God's law will be punished by God. That is a fundamental principle in the Bible. So that's operating now because COVID-19 is created by God and God's using it to punish people who support gay marriage. Yeah, Christian or not, it doesn't matter. You support LGBTQ rights, protection of sexual orientation, changing laws to accommodate sexual orientation, you'll be punished by God, you and your children. You will see. That's who God is. God hates homosexuals. God hates homosexuality. I mean, look at God. He destroys Sodom and Gomorrah because he hates homosexual people, LGBTQ people. God hates LGBTQ people. The Bible clearly shows that. Well, you may not like the fact that God hates LGBTQ people, but that's who he is, right? You can understand God in his own autonomous, as an autonomous being, right? I mean, you have things you hate, God has things he hates. God happens to hate LGBTQ people. That's how he chooses to define himself. Yeah, you choose to define yourself one way, God chooses to define himself other way. You know, you can't enslave God. You can't tell God what to do. He's a supreme being. So when LGBTQ rights are pushed by Latinos, God's going to punish Latinos in every city in America by giving COVID to them and to their children. So I encourage Latinos in America to reject LGBTQ nation and go back to the Bible, rejecting gay rights, gay marriage. That's the way you're going to survive this thing from a spiritual angle. I'm giving you a spiritual angle. I could talk about social determinants of health another day. Um, and that's the reason why God's killing a lot of people in Latin America, because every Latino in Arlington, Alexandria, Fairfax County, and Falls Church are tied to Latinos in Brazil, Peru, Mexico, Chile, Colombia, Guatemala, so Ecuador. So if you're here in America opposing God's law and supporting LGBTQ nation, God's going to kill your relatives, your friends and family through COVID back home in your home country. Because God has a problem with anger management. If you read the Bible, God's killing like a lot of Christians and believers when they stand against God's law. God has an anger problem. But what are you going to do? He's a supreme being. Everything he does is perfect. So, he's not your client. He's not your child. God does what he wants, right? He's not bound by any of laws in the earth. He's God. Oh, yeah. So what can you do? Yeah. Now, Brazil is number one. They have 2,046,328 cases. So you see they're number two in the world in terms of cases. They're about 1.5 million behind us. And their death rate is behind us as well. They have 77,851. Their death rate is similar to us. So if they have similar number as us, they'll have similar death as us, we have like twice the death right now as they do. And twice the cases, right? Or almost close to it. Peru is number two at 345,537. And their death rate is also at 4%, but because they have fewer cases, their death is at 12,799. Mexico is in trouble. Yeah, they have 324,041 cases, but their death is 3 times the number of Peru because their death rate is 3 times, 12%. So 37,574 have died in Mexico, and they're continuing, the cases are continuing. It's possible for Mexico to become like Brazil. They could have 2 million cases, in which case, they would have phenomenal. If they have 2 million cases, they will have like 200,000 deaths. Yeah, so Mexico's headed there. Chile it has 326,439 cases, and the death rate is at 3%, a little bit lower than us, and Brazil and Peru. So they have 8,347. You see, these are high numbers. And American states are going that way too. If you look at the death numbers of the states, Texas, California, Florida, which have the highest number of cases. They're all headed to like Brazil. So they're kind of like the Brazil situation. And right now, Georgia and Arizona are kind of like Peru. And North Carolina, South Carolina, uh, they're kind of like Colombia. So that's how you can understand them. Colombia has 173,206 cases, and their death rate is 3%, and they have 6,030 deaths. Do you like the emojis? Harry's eyes are like really wide, and he's not blinking. Harry, blink, blink, Harry, blink, Harry. You gotta blink. Yeah, he's not blinking. But yeah, yeah, you can get yourself emoji swimwear. You have like 6 weeks to wear your swimsuit. You know, yeah. As you know, I'm recommending if you're 18 to 26 and you're working, you should try to find a wife if you're a guy. If you're a girl, you should try to find a husband. You don't know when you're going to die. So 2020 America is not 2019 America. You can't date around. There's no movie theater open. You can't even hang out with your friends. The best thing for you to do is get married with somebody attractive that you like is a good Christian. Start your family. Because they say COVID-19 is forever. Don't wait around. You don't know when you're going to die. You can't really hang out with anybody else. Anyway, you can only really hang out with people who are your family. You get married, have children, hang out with your wife and your children. Yeah. Bring meaning to your life. Bring meaning to your life. You get married, you have meaning in life. Yeah. So I would encourage you to go to the beach. Obviously, stay away from everybody. But if you see somebody who's marriageable, you need to take a risk. Try to get married within next few months. I mean, life is short. You could die like next year. So put that into consideration. Try to get married in a few months. Yeah, ground 0 to 60 like in 4 seconds, man. Ground 0 to 60, 4 seconds. Give me a five. Give me a five. 4 seconds. 0 to 60, baby. 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. Yeah. Before I go on to all this, I want to give a cheer to my Clinical Nurse Leader Program members. As you know, there are 34 of us who started in 2018 summer at Georgetown University, and at that time, not a single one of us imagined that there could be a pandemic that kills people, that will shut everything down. Obviously, in 2018, nursing was one of the safest, if not the safest profession. There was no risk of death generally. Um, but a lot has changed in 2020, August and summer. Nursing is the most dangerous profession in the world, far more dangerous than becoming a U.S. Marine, far more dangerous than working on an oil rig um, or construction business. There's no business that is more dangerous than nursing. Um, Being a nurse is more dangerous than being a doctor. Because doctor comes in, see a patient, and they leave. Nurses have to actually have to work with patients for 12 hours straight. So nursing is the most dangerous job right now in the world, especially in America. So because of that, um, I expect 20% of class of 2020 nursing students to die. By Christmas, but definitely within 1 year. Because they don't have the experience. They're going to like lift up the mask by mistake, get infected by COVID, they're going to die in flu season. So I predict that at least 20% of the new nurses, class of 2020 nurses, will die from COVID if they work in a hospital, any hospital, because COVID is spreading everywhere. You can't escape it if you're a nurse. Even if you work in a unit that doesn't have COVID patients, you're going to have patients that have COVID. So, yeah. 20% of the nursing students who graduate who work in hospitals will die. That's my prediction. And so there were 38 of us who started the program. The program is very difficult, Georgetown University Nursing Leader program. So we're down to 25 as of May. And we're pinned, but I'm predicting that 5 to 10 of us will die by Christmas. So out of 25, I'm predicting that we'll have about 15 left by Christmas. People who have asthma, peanut allergies, diabetes, they're overweight. Yeah, you can expect to die if you have COVID-19 during flu season, I think. You may not die. Hopefully you don't die. I hope nobody dies. So I love you guys. I love all of you guys. I don't want any of you to die. But, I'm being realistic. You know, there are 1,000 people dying every day, so people are going to die. So I think it's better to prepare emotionally and also be careful. The more careful you are, less chance you're going to die. So live in fear. Fear is a motivator. So I want to give a cheer to my board members because I expect at least 5 of them to die by Christmas. I don't want them to die, obviously, but this is COVID killing everybody. And I have friends who are from California, like Emily, Melinda. Um, you know, they go back to their state after the program is over, they could die there. I mean, but I'm predicting that once Georgetown opens up in August, new semester starts, we're going to have 10,000 cases in PND zone, which is DC, Maryland, Virginia. So even if you stay here, you'll probably die. As I said, I expect a lot of people to die in Arlington County before Christmas because schools are opening up. So COVID will spread during the flu season. I won't be surprised if half of Arlington die because we're not talking about a common cold here. We're talking about a lethal virus. It's killing 1,000 people in the summer where there's nothing else. During winter, you're gonna have so many things: strep throat, mononucleosis. You're gonna have flu A, flu B. You're gonna have pneumonia. You're gonna have all kinds of stuff. So I'm not gonna be surprised if 50% of you die by Christmas in Arlington. I mean, I don't want you to die. That's why I created this show. But I'm not gonna be surprised if you die because Arlington County Public Schools opening up. So yeah, I'm expecting at least 10 to 20% of Arlington County to die within 1 year. So that's something I'm expecting, a minimum. But I'm open to the fact that half of us can die by Christmas. That's, I mean, it could be worse than that, but I don't think anybody should be surprised if that happens because this is a global pandemic. You're educated people, maybe you don't know pandemics, but bubonic plague killed 1/3 of the world. It didn't kill 1/3 of the people everywhere. In some areas, it killed like 90% of the people. But when you average it out, it killed 1/3 of the people. So there will be some cities in America where 100% of the population will die. Right? In some places in America, like North Dakota, South Dakota, where hardly anyone dies. So you average it out. 1/3 of the world is dead. You see what I'm saying? That was like bubonic plague. Um, yeah. So don't think only 1/3 dies in a pandemic, so no more than 1/3 is going to die in Ireland. It doesn't work that way. It's possible for 100% of a population in one area to die. Like in New York City, it's possible for 10 million New Yorkers to die from COVID. Um, and I'm sure there will be cities where that happens, like 100% or near 100% dies. Miami, maybe it looks like Miami is doing everything wrong. So I won't be surprised if 100% of people in Miami dies in the next year because they seem to have policies that are open to death. Uh, yeah, I mean, geez, look at all the things that they did from May to now. It's like, please come and kill me, COVID. Please come and kill me, COVID. That's like Miami. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, let's go to the articles. I have three articles from the three states that had like 10 to 15,000 cases per day, where I'm expecting 1,000 deaths per day in a few weeks. Um, yeah, they're all going to be like Brazil. And you saw how many deaths Brazil was, right? So that's coming. Thank God I'm not in Texas, Florida, or California. But I'm celebrating to soon because Georgetown's opening up, which means DC will be like DC, which is not a state, will be like Florida, California, and Florida. I wouldn't be surprised if like all of Anacostia is wiped out after colleges start. They get COVID, they're gonna die. Yeah, just you know how concentrated that area is. I teach in Anacostia, so I wouldn't be surprised if like everybody dies in Anacostia because all these college students from Florida, California, and Texas bring COVID. Social determinants of health. I mean, it's the poorest area in Anacostia. I mean, you should be surprised if everybody dies. Uh, I don't want any of you to die. I love you guys. I love all my students and their parents. But all I'm saying is, it's kind of like when Christopher Columbus went to found a new land. Just by walking and talking to people, everybody died. It's not like Christopher Columbus killed everybody. He just talked to them, and they got diseases and they died. Yeah. So the first article is Texas, which had like 15,000 cases today. Um, Texas eclipses grim benchmark with 300,000 coronavirus cases. 300,000. A 5% death rate. You look at 15,000 of them dying. If they run out of ICU, you may have 20, 30,000 dead. Yeah, I mean, New York has, that's how New York had so many deaths. Because, they couldn't get to the patients in time. Yeah, get your BLS card, basic life support from American Heart Association. The relevant quote here is Texas has joined California, Florida, and New York in a group Friday that no state wants to be a part of. Those with 300,000 confirmed coronavirus cases. It eclipsed that awful benchmark Friday by shattering its single day record of new cases of COVID-19 with 14,780 cases in one day. And also topping its single day record death with 149. So it's rising. We'll get to 1,000. We'll see. The latest NBC News tally showed Harry's eyes are like wide open and he's not blinking, but I don't know, it's a little bit different from before. He's not blinking this time either, but it's a different kind of not blinking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Yeah. Texas is headed to death. I blame Houston, which had a gay mayor. God is angry at Houston because they allowed gay mayor. God wants to kill Houston. A lot of people in Texas. I call it the Sodom and Gomorrah principle. If you can have lesbian become mayor in one of the biggest cities, that's gonna strike the city down. Yeah, I mean, that's why I make sure nobody gets voted in who's gay, lesbian, or transgender. I mean, Virginia should expect a lot of that because we had a transgender House of Representative member, or not House of Representative member. We had a transgender um, state legislator in Prince William County. So, yeah, we're definitely going to become like Texas. So that's coming. Yeah, I mean, maybe that's going to use Georgetown opening up to do that. But yeah, if you are in this Northern Virginia, you should expect to die because God. One thing that God is He has anger management issues, and He just does not forget. If He's an eternal being who's all knowing, he just doesn't forget. He always punishes people. Yeah, I mean I would say that's not necessarily the best quality in a person that you don't forget, and you hold grudges. But that's who God is. You know, God's not a person, so you can't really tell him what to do. He chooses to hold grudges against people who break his law, and he chooses to punish them. Um, what can you do? He's God. I mean, we have to live with him, you know, or die with him. So yeah, you should expect massive death in this area because of the transgender legislation. Yeah, it's coming. It's like Houston. Because Texas had a gay mayor in Houston, that's not going to relent. That's going to slaughter Texans. It's unfortunate, you know, but God has anger management problems. I told you. God has anger management problem. He loses it when people embrace homosexuality or gay rights. That you read the Bible every time, that's true. God has an anger management problem, and God always loses it when it involves LGBTQ plus. Yeah, so I feel sorry for you, Texas, but you guys are gonna die because you allowed a gay mayor to exist in Houston. Yeah, you know, and what can you do? God is God. So I say this expect a very lot of dead people. Just make sure you're right with God so you don't spend eternity in hell. But you expect Texas to become like Brazil and a lot of people to die. Yeah, you should have stopped a gay person, lesbian from becoming a mayor. Prevention is always the better way to go, but you did not. So now you have to suffer, unfortunately. I don't want you to suffer, but God is who he is, right? God is who he is. He's going to punish you, Texas, for that gay man. Yeah, that's who he is. That's who God is. Second article, July 17th, Georgia nears 4,000 new COVID-19 cases. Augusta area cases, hospitalizations remain high. So that's July 17th, Augusta Chronicle, written by Tom Cohen. And the significant quote there is Georgia added 3,908 new cases to reach 135,183, with 28 new deaths for a total of 3,132 deaths, the Department of Public Health reported. So, yeah, so 4,000 cases per day. Georgia is headed in the direction of you know, and as you know, I have a master's of education degree in reading. I'm a reading specialist in District of Columbia. I have a reading specialist license um, issued by you know the state of or District of Columbia. Um, and yeah, so I got I have 4.0 straight A's in my master's program. It's a 2 years master's program. From I finished it in record time, obviously, but yeah, but it's a 2 year program. And that's University of West Georgia. We're the Wolves. So you have a picture of the Wolves there. And the cheerleaders of the Wolves, UWG, University of West Georgia. She's pretty, right? She's thin and pretty. A lot of Georgian women are very beautiful. Yeah. Um, yeah, the third article is Arizona reports 300, 3,910 cases, new COVID-19 cases, 91 more deaths as ventilator use hits new highs. So deaths are climbing higher in Arizona than Georgia, even though the cases are similar. Because Georgia only has 28 deaths, Arizona has 91. And obviously there's a spiritual explanation for that because Arizonans voted in a senator who's a bisexual, a LGBTQ, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, you're questioning plus, right? So, yeah, so I would say God is killing more people in Arizona from a spiritual angle because God has anger management problems. And, you know, he likes to punish people who break his law or flaunt it. So when Arizonans voted for a trans or bisexual, they basically sealed their fate. So a lot of people in Arizona are going to die. I expect Arizona to go to like 1,000 deaths per day. You don't vote for bisexual or gay or lesbian, and expect God not to punish you. As I told you, God has an anger management issue. God always, always, always punishes. So Arizona, you're going to go toward that. You're not going to escape it, unfortunately. God has anger management issues. Obviously, I don't want Christians in Arizona to die, but then, God's known to punish a lot of Christians, believers, when he gets angry. He's probably blaming you that the bisexual are wrong. So, yeah, you got to brace yourself for God's wrath, unfortunately, Arizona. Yeah, so the significant quote is there. The significant quote there is ventilators in use hit a new record. Inpatient hospitalizations, ICU beds in use, and emergency department visits by suspected and confirmed COVID-19 patients all hover near the highest record levels. If you want to survive COVID-19, go out of your way to destroy LGBTQ rights. That's the quickest way to guarantee your protection by holy angels. Whether you're in Arlington County board meeting or whether you're in Alexandria City board meeting, council meeting, or Falls Church City Council meeting, or Fairfax County board meeting, the way to ensure that God's guardian angels protect your children is go out of your way to fight against any form of LGBTQ rights. Because God will show you family mercy. Yeah. It's kind of like, during Passover, houses with lamb's blood painted on. God's angels of death skipped over, but obviously God's angels of death were the ones killing people who did not have, lamb's blood painted on the doorpost. So God's angels kill. Exodus clearly shows us that. Um, so I recommend everybody in Arlington County to oppose LGBTQ to save your life from a spiritual angle, because any form of affirming of LGBTQ, affirming of gay rights, affirming of gay marriage, affirming of gay individuals will bring down the wrath of God on you as a person. An individual can get breast cancer and die after suffering horrifically, or and bring down wrath of God on your children, because sins of the fathers shall visit their children. So yeah. So obviously, if you fight LGBTQ rights at Arlington board meeting, and make sure that you don't protect sexual orientation, and you do not change laws to protect sexual orientation, and you are the central figure to do that, you can assume God's guardian angels will protect your life and your children's lives forever. I mean, I'm telling you, you have an opportunity tomorrow to secure 100% protection of the guardian angel. What you do with that information is your freedom. I'm giving you how God operates. I'm an expert of New Testament and Old Testament, as you know. I'm a member of a British Christian Society. I'm a member of a European Association of Biblical Studies, which are made up of professors who teach in European University, New Testament departments, Old Testament departments. I go there to present papers. So New Testament professors at Oxford University, Cambridge University can learn from me. Yeah, so I speak as an expert on what the Bible portrays God as. And as an expert, I can show you how you and your family can receive the protection of Angel Gabriel and guardian angels. Whether you want to use that expert knowledge or not, that's up to you. You do what you want with it. You know, um, but I'm giving you the expert knowledge to protect you and your children. And you have an opportunity tomorrow on Saturday to go to Arlington County Board meeting and ensure that you have guardian angel protection, permanent guardian angel protection until COVID-19 ends. Yeah, I mean, but you do what you want. You do what you want. It's your children's life. It's your life. You do what you want. You probably don't even believe in God. Even if you're not a Christian, If you fight to destroy LGBTQ rights, God will protect your life. I mean, after you die, you're going to go to eternal damnation because you don't believe in Jesus. But it's a transaction. God is a transactional leader. You give God what he wants, he's going to give you what you want. You may not want to be a Christian. You may be a Hindu, Muslim, or a Jew, or a Buddhist. But, you know, it's the Christian God who's killing everybody, not the Buddhist God. So you make a simple transaction with the Christian God by fighting against the LGBTQ rights. That's what God wants. And then you demand that God give you what you want. You say, Christian God, I fought against LGBTQ. Now sexual orientation doesn't go into the laws of Arlington County. Now you give me what I want, and God's going to give you what you want. God works in transactional terms. Look at what happened with Job when he wrestled God. God is a transactional leader. He always wants something if he wants to give you something. He will never give you something for free. He wants something from you. That's why Jesus said, if you want to be my disciple, you have to deny yourself. You have to pick up your cross and you have to follow me. You know how hard these demands are? Yeah, Jesus is not going to give you salvation for free. Because being a disciple is like being saved. It's a transactional thing. Jesus is like, I give you eternal life. You deny yourself, take up your cross and follow me. Jesus is a transactional leader. Actually, my paper, you know, I went to a British New Testament conference in 2019 fall at Liverpool Hope University. And all the New Testament professors from universities in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland, United Kingdom were there. There were some from Ireland as well, just visiting. It's a British New Testament conference, obviously. And my paper was on this. I was in the gospel section. And my research and presentation was transactional leadership of Jesus Christ. So for 30 minutes of time that I had allotted to me to present my paper to my colleagues, professor from Oxford was there in New Testament, professor from, I think Edinburgh University was there. There are professors from like top-notch universities, like world-renowned theologians. And my paper that I wanted to teach them something about New Testament, obviously. That's what we do in conferences. We share something with our colleagues that they don't know. So my argument was Jesus is a transactional leader. And you need to understand Jesus as a transactional leader because there's evidence in the Gospels that shows Jesus as a transactional leader. And you cannot ignore that fact. So obviously, transactional leaders, for those of you who know leadership theory, Professor Schloss is amazing. I love Professor Schloss. She's a great professor. And I hope that I'll be near Georgetown so I can see Professor Schloss and all the other professors at Georgetown that I love, she's an expert of leadership. She taught us all the leadership courses. So I emailed her that I passed my clinical nurse leader exam, and I thanked her for teaching us the essential classes involved on leadership, because she taught all the leadership classes. And she tried to guide us with our clinical nurse leader certification preparation. So, I'm going to give credit where credit is due. I'm going to do a cheer for Professor Schloss. She's our leadership expert at Georgetown Nursing School. Professor Schloss, Professor Schloss. If Professor Schloss can't do it, who can? I don't know. I should try to prepare better cheer, but you get the point. Little ducky is smiling. Yeah. So so Jesus is a transactional leader. So I'm planning to turn that into a book because I think it's an important point that people need to understand. I'm glad that I delivered that paper to my British colleagues who are experts in New Testament before COVID-19 hit, because that was in September of 2019. Because now they have keys to survive COVID-19. Obviously, they read the Bible, but sometimes you need someone to systematize things in a way that is understandable, right? Uh, and, and that's what experts are. Not everybody is an expert in everything. And I'm an expert on how to survive COVID-19 from a spiritual angle. Um, and that's something that I care about because I'm obviously clinical nurse leader. I passed my clinical nurse leader exam on Monday, so I'm a de facto clinical nurse leader. I'm just waiting for my certificate to make it official. But it's like a driver's license by now. You pass the exam, but the card did not arrive yet. Um, yeah, so my interest, as you know, I'm the president of Georgetown Collaborative Diplomacy Initiative. So I have a long history. I've been researching as a professional historian for decades on diplomacy, soft diplomacy, hard diplomacy, warfare, conflict resolution. These are my fields of expertise. So obviously, as a theologian, we treat God as an agent, right? God is an independent agent in His own right. So when we study relationship between God and the nation of Israel, the chosen nation of Israel, sometimes we talk about diplomacy. Like what kind of diplomacy measures must Israel deploy? Because it's a contractual relationship. Like any kind of diplomacy, uh, there is either a clear contract or implied contract or a social contract or a political contract or philosophical contract or existential contract, right? And in the case of nation of Israel and God, there actually is a paper contract. And you can see that in Genesis 15. God and Abraham made a contract, bilateral contract, to bind themselves forever. Obviously, if one of the parties breaks the contract, then the other party can break the contract. I actually wrote a paper on this about 10 years ago. I delivered it to experts and then published it. Um, yeah, so uh, by definition, God is transactional because God wanted something from Israel, like God wanted Israel to circumcise their children, observe the law, and that was obligation, legal obligation for Israel. They have to keep that for God to deliver on His promise, which is He's going to make Abraham into a great nation. If Abraham breaks the contract for his children, because the children were have privity of contract according to this contract, um, then God will break His contractual obligation, and that's why Israel ceased to exist as a nation because Israel as a nation stopped observing the law of God, the Torah, and so God stopped fulfilling His contract, which was to make Israel into a great nation, right? So Israel stopped existing, and that was a contractual violation of God, and in retaliation for contractual violation by Israel. You see what I'm saying? So God is a transactional leader, and we see that in the Bible. Uh, so obviously, it's a bilateral contract. Um, Now, I am unique among New Testament scholars in arguing that Jesus is a transactional leader in the way that I argued it. So that paper has not been published yet. It was just delivered in 2019. Um, I'm going to publish it, but I'm glad that I delivered that paper to professors at Oxford, professors at top-notch universities in England, Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland. So now they understand what they need to do to survive COVID from a spiritual angle. Yeah, but obviously knowledge is useless if you don't use it. Like I told you how to protect your children and yourself from COVID with guardian angel protection. if you go to a county board meeting tomorrow and stop sexual orientation terminology being placed into Arlington County law, but if you don't do it, you're not going to reap the benefits of it. So knowledge is useless if you don't reap the benefits of it by using it. So yeah, I mean, you can survive, but we all know you're not going to get COVID if you don't talk to people who have COVID. But some people talk to people with COVID and they get it. So knowledge can be power, but knowledge isn't always power. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah, you could throw away your power. Yeah. So yeah, you see how much you learn. One of the things I'm going to miss the most about campuses closing down are like cheerleaders. God created them male and female. And as a male, I appreciate the female form. Only those who have become abnormal go after their own sex. Romans chapter 1 said, I'm just quoting Romans chapter 1 or paraphrasing it. Anybody who likes the same sex, you're abnormal. That's what Romans chapter 1 says. I'm just paraphrasing what Romans chapter 1 says. You're abnormal if you're attracted to people of same sex, and you should stop yourself from becoming abnormal. That's what Romans chapter 1 is teaching us. So you may be attracted to people of your same sex. You gotta stop yourself so you don't become abnormal, according to Romans chapter 1. Obviously, you're going to eternal damnation in hell if you practice homosexuality. So there's eternity that's at stake. So all Christians who have sex, gay sex, are going to eternal damnation in hell. So I recommend that you do not fall into that trap uh, because Romans chapter 1 is there. It's very clear. Yeah. Anyway, I want you to live. I don't want you just to live in this life. I want you to live eternal life in heaven with Jesus. So I'll share things with you that's going to give you life because I march for life. I march for life. Yes. I am like the guiding light. I'm like the guiding light in a world where you cannot see COVID-19, in a world where you cannot see Satan. You obviously can't see angels either. I'm like the guiding light in the world you cannot see. Life is like that. Now you have it, now you don't. Um, your whole world can disappear. Have you seen the latest Spider-Man movie? Yeah, watch the Spider-Man movie if you haven't seen the latest one. What you see is not always the reality. As Plato said, sometimes reality is beyond what you see. Yeah. Um, Thanks for stopping by, watching this show. I am always happy to see you. Do you like my hat? It's a West Georgia hat. Yeah, yeah. If you're ever in Carrollton, Georgia, stop by. University of West Georgia campus. It's a very beautiful campus. There's a lot of places to walk and jog. It's a beautiful campus. We have a campus tour. Food is pretty good. So yeah, I recommend you stop by. They have some nice restaurants. Um, yeah, it's like an hour away from Atlanta. Um, yeah. Anywho, yeah. So yeah. Thanks for stopping by. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. It's a daily show. You're lucky that I created this show, aren't you? You're like the luckiest, happiest clown in the world. Give me a five. Give me a five. Give me a five. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. I hope that your family will be well and that you will be well too. Bye.